something we were doing before that I feel like we were wanting to kind of have like a rebranding of in some ways was our highlights from the Hoard kind of subject. And kind of previously, what we were doing was we were each kind of choosing an item, and I guess just kind of giving like an emotional ties or talking about it, what it means to us. And me and Phoenix kind of came up with the idea what might be kind of more interesting is for us whenever we do this to do it monthly, and then for us to one of the three of us to I don't know, I guess it kind of gives us a way to not run through our entire most interesting items, quickly.
Yeah, I think the thought was we were all picking an item every week, and we weren't getting a whole lot of time to really elaborate on it necessarily. And yeah, we were kind of just like very passively or surface level running through some of the stuff in our collection, so you don't get to learn a lot about it, why we like it. So this gives us the chance just to let each one of us just pick an item, maybe even give a little more information about the item in case it is something cool from the collection you might not be aware of. Maybe dig into how we got it, why we wanted to get it in the first place, does it mean anything to us, stuff like that. So
That is
kind
true
of
though. Like if
slows things down a little bit.
you're right though that like if we do focus on one item, I don't know. Like you said, it lets us focus in on how we got it. I think that might be interesting. I don't even remember if that was something I
Yeah.
was talking about before.
Yeah, and sometimes I would, sometimes I wouldn't, but it gives you the space to do so. And it doesn't even have to be one item. I think the other thing we wanted to do is use this as a way to also look at broader kind of subsections of our collection. Like we want to talk about special edition systems, like a collection of games. Like I want to talk about the whole Metal Gear series because I just love Metal Gear so much. It gives you just more room to really, I think, talk about what you love in the collection because we're all major collectors. I mean, you see all the crap behind us. We have
That's all
problems,
green screen. All green
and
screen.
we want to share our problems with you. Oh yeah, just click it behind. I'm sitting in the basement, aren't I? So, but either way, I'm excited to see how this section kind of evolves and changes, and I'm very curious to see what item you chose and what you have to say about it.
Okay. All right. So I'm actually going to talk a little bit about one item that I've shown before, but again, with the whole suggestion by Phoenix, I thought it might be kind of more fun just to kind of reiterate and I guess delve deeper into the item. So the item I chose is I've shown this before, but again, I'm showing my PS1 Slim. Now, this thing is super
That's in good
interesting.
condition too.
Oh,
It's
my
very
PS1
nice.
Not
Slim?
yellowed or nothing. Ooh, I think it's prettier
Ooh,
than mine. I think it looks
yeah,
brand spanking new, man. Nice.
yeah. But yeah, I guess to start off with, where I got this thing from was I think I was doing a lone wolf garage sailing day, which that was a handful of years ago. But I went to this older gentleman. I feel like he was probably middle aged, probably like 50, mid 50s, and he had like cleared out absolutely everything in his garage sale outside, and and everything was pretty much gone. It was later in the day. It was probably like, which that's kind of interesting. Like if you go out garage sailing, which Phoenix knows, most of the time you won't find anything past what, say 10, 11, past that.
By 10, it gets pretty tough. I mean, it happens, but it's rare.
Yeah, I feel like I got this later in the day, so it's probably around then 10 or 11, so later. And the guy's garage sale was completely, everything was picked off, and then he told me he had a few more items in his garage. um I guess I should have been more wary. Who knows what he was.
Hmm, I forgot some
I
items
got some.
for you, Sonny.
I got. I got some more stuff in my garage. But I went in and he had just like a small little round table with like two items on it. One item I don't remember what it was, but the other item was a black bag that said PS1 on it, and I was like, "What's that thing?" And he was like, "Oh, it's my I don't remember some grandchildren or children's video
I
game
don't remember my
thing."
kid's name. I don't know. Michael and Brandon, just take it.
I think he said his like son went into like the Air Force or something. And I was just like, "Oh, okay. How much did you want for that?" And he told me like $20. And it was cool. It was a
Yeah,
PS.
his son's gonna be pissed.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, it was a PS1 Slim, had the game bag, came with the DualShock controller, whole bunch of
And it
cords
comes
and
with a
everything.
monitor.
It had all of the instruction manuals and everything on the inside. So yeah, I was super stoked that day. I got that later in the day, not expecting to find anything. For
Yeah, the
I
pop-up monitor is really awesome because that's a lot harder to come by. Like, I know when I first found the PS1, it was just the console. It took me a while to find one that had the monitor on it.
So real quick, in the future, I feel like for the next ones, I'll be a little bit more, I'm gonna start taking pictures and videos and stuff. But gonna use someone's B-roll to kind of show off a little bit. This is Classic Game Room. They're a big channel, so sorry. I'm not gonna play it. I just play images. I don't want to act like I'm taking their content. But yeah, this is kind of them kind of going through more of the specifics. Um, I guess while I'll show this, I will also. Well, that's them showing the size of it compared to the
The
previous one.
size. Was this curious? I can't recall if there's any other time they did this. Is this like the first mini console? Well, I guess
mm,
not. The NES did a refresh too. They had the top loader.
NES, yeah, that's
Uh,
one.
I'm trying to think what other systems
I
did. Well, I
feel
guess
like the
okay.
Gen. I
Now
think
I'm thinking. Now I'm thinking about it.
the Genesis did that. I
Sega did
think.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, Genesis had what, 3 models? Okay, so this is not a new thing. So never mind. Forget me. I don't know nothing.
but you are right that like this is something that would like this is something that would like become a staple with PlayStation. I think hasn't PlayStation had a
Mm.
slim of every single version of their console since this one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Just got the 5 slimmed down too now.
hmm Although I would say that one's probably the most unnecessary one. Have you? It's still a huge console compared to the big boy.
Yeah, I just got to see it in person finally, a little off topic, and it does look smaller, and I like the idea that it's modular now for the optical drive, but yeah, like people just now in the past, like what year, been able to even get a PS5, so now have the mini out or the slim seems a little odd. I'm curious where you move forward. How do you feel about the name of this PS1? Because I'll tell you, when I first heard that, it was so confusing, and it's almost harder now. Like if I want to talk about this console, the PS1, and I say PS1, people don't know I'm talking about this. I mean, it's technically the same console, but they picture the original like PlayStation 1. Um, like, do you find that odd or confusing, or is it just me and my crazy mind?
Um, I I don't really. I mean, I guess it is kind of hard to differentiate it other than by looks, but I feel like it's
Especially
fine.
at the time. Like, I think now, I mean, maybe you could say like the other one's the PlayStation Classic and this is the PlayStation 1, but think about, like, was it late 90s when this thing was a thing? Like, and you have the PS1, the PlayStation, and the PS1, the mini. Like, I don't know, that's odd branding. Like, I'm trying to think of something else comparable to that. Like, Xbox One was another terrible name, similar in concept there, but I don't know. I just didn't like that naming. I'm not sure what else they could have done that was better if they could have said PS Mini at that point, but no, just a pet peeve of mine. I'm
No.
sorry.
So just a quick little facts that I was able to find. I'll be honest, I wasn't able to find much on this thing for some reason. Maybe it's just because it was such a it's not a niche product because it actually sold really well, but for some reason this thing was kind of hard to find like like uh like definitive numbers on. Like I couldn't find that anywhere.
Hmm.
But just a couple basic things. It actually released in the US in 2000. So technically
A late release, yeah.
it was about 5 years after the original PS1, the thick one, had launched. Yeah, it initially launched again with just a more compact design, and it was completely compatible from what I read in terms of all PS1 games. So it didn't leave out any of the titles. Of course, it had a 5-inch LCD screen, and the accessory was released 2 years after the console, and was included in some sort of combo pack. Um, it was eventually sold in stores and then was discontinued in 2004. So really, not that long of a release window. That's only what 4 years that you could get a hold of one of these things,
Yeah.
which is kind of funny.
When did you say it came out again?
2000. It came out at the same
Well,
time as.
what month?
Oh, I didn't put that. I don't think I have that.
Because I wanted to put some context. I'm pretty sure the PS2, I was pulling it up.
PS2 launched at
PS2
about
came
the
out in
same time.
2000.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
I,
like
I
I think it was October. It says here. Let's see if I can find PS1 release.
yeah, I have where did
It just says 2000.
I have down it said it was very successful for Sony, outselling the PS2 when they both first launched. So at first it outsold the PS2, and then of course
It says
PS2.
July. So like 3-4 months before the PS2, which is an interesting window there. You got to think at that point, like, who were they targeting? I know it sold relatively well, but most people who were PlayStation fans were probably saving up, hyped up for the PS2. I mean, I know I was. I wasn't thinking about buying this thing.
That is
I don't know. It's
interesting.
just interesting to.
Well, because the PS2 is backwards compatible as well, so it's like you're getting ready to you're just putting out a PS1 console 3 months before this next console that can play all of the games on the previous one. I don't know. I get what you're saying about it kind of being
I,
unnecessary a little bit.
Well, I mean, it kind of makes sense. It's not like an uncommon practice now. Like after a new console comes out, you see them usually try to push out old stock by like dropping the price or sometimes releasing a new model, but rarely because they want you to. And it's good for people who maybe skipped out in a generation. I know there's a lot of gamers who kind of always stay one generation behind, right? Because they want to play kind of those last releases nice and cheap, so they'll go that route. But did they say what the price point was of this console?
That I didn't find. I should have that I should have pulled up.
Yeah, I'm curious
Um,
if it was like a big price difference. We don't have to hit on it too much. I know this is a relatively short section, but I don't know. It is an interesting kind of, I don't know, scenario with how they released it so close to the PS2. And I would be curious to see like what the sales numbers were overall because these are hard to come by. Like at least around here, I don't see these things too often. I find regular PlayStations all over the place. I could build a freaking room out of them. But the PS1s, I've only seen 2 or 3 in my time looking.
trying to find a price. I don't know. It's probably. Oh wait. No,
I
that's
remember that little
current.
thing was like $100. Because
Yeah, I
I
don't think
think
it was more than
I think
100.
at the time they were competing with GameCube. I could be
No,
wrong.
No, it
GameCube
was
wasn't out yet.
It
Was
wasn't
it?
out yet.
N64 and
No, because
Saturn.
PS2 came out.
Okay.
It was. I have it. It was
Well,
competing
you had
against
Dreamcast.
Oh well.
probably Dreamcast. Yeah,
Dreamcast was out around this time. Yeah.
probably.
Well,
Yeah.
Dreamcast had its own issues happening in 2000
Oh yeah.
or 1999, I
Yeah.
should say. Anyway, that's a different topic for a
Yeah.
different day. Let's not get
So
into that. All
just
that
a
worms.
last couple things I had. It's just at the time a big deal with this when it launched was it also had another bundle where it came with a DualShock. Came with a white DualShock, which was a big deal. You know, you got like one of the fancy new controllers, newer controllers at the
Yeah.
time. And one of the big selling points of this was, I mean, I guess it's now you probably would call it a selling point because it's missing features. But it was essentially they took away the I/O port, which essentially meant that this wasn't capable of PlayStation Link, which I guess you could call that a downfall versus the Fat Boy. And then as well as by taking all that out, it also was incapable of doing Game Shark as opposed to the bigger console. So
Interesting.
I guess you could say they're more trying to sell you on I guess the maneuverability of it and kind of how small it is
The
and
convenience of it, I imagine, was probably a lower price point. It was trying to catch those who didn't have a PlayStation yet and probably weren't going to get a PS2. And most people who didn't have either of them probably didn't care about those extra ports. They probably weren't going to get a Game Shark right now. They certainly weren't going to mod it and do a whole bunch of crazy stuff. So,
yeah.
It's a cool console.
So yeah, that's kind of my little thing. I feel like next one from future episodes we'll do a lot more with it. I was kind of late to kind of doing some stuff with this one, but Gamer for next month he's going to be taking on the next one, and that one's going to be very exciting because that's what a couple weeks away from Final Fantasy VII coming out. So I think you're going to have
Maybe I'll give him
possible
some
something.
inspiration.
Yeah. Watch, he's going to talk about Zelda. Choose something
Do it.
weird.
Do it. All right, very cool. Yeah, let us know if you liked this kind of refresh for those who have watched the old highlights versus this one. Do you like this better? Do you miss the kind of, quick short form way we used to do it? But let us know. We always like to make it better, make it more interesting. But I enjoyed talking about this. I think it made it more of a mini topic all in itself. So
I think this is not the I think this is a bit more engaging. It's just like, hey, I don't know. I think it's more fun because you're diving deeper. Before it
I
was
enjoyed
just
it more, and really, that's all that matters.
that's all that matters. Yeah.